Yeshivat Frisch, I'm Alex Massell, and this is a special edition of Frisch News. Students in Yeshivat Frisch are enjoying great success with distance learning, thanks to inspiring teachers, engaging classes, and thought-provoking programs. And yet, there are challenges to this kind of virtual experience. With that in mind, here's Caleb Mantell with the Zoom master himself.
After being introduced to Zoom, virtual learning has taken off. I sat down with Rabbi Pittinsky to share his insights on Zoom fatigue. You recently wrote an article about Zoom fatigue. Can you please explain what Zoom fatigue is, and is there anything you've learned since then?
What people have been finding, and there are researchers, there was an article in National Geographic, I think 3 weeks ago, that coined the term, is that when you're on Zoom meetings for a few hours and you're done, you feel really tired and fatigued, more than you might feel when you're meeting face-to-face for the same amount of time. So they coined the term Zoom fatigue, that Zooming all day or Zooming for many hours at a time makes you really, really, really wiped and tired. So that's the term.
What would be your top tips for coping with Zoom fatigue?
Yeah, so first of all, we have to understand why there is Zoom fatigue, and that kind of creates the tips. So there are a lot of issues with Zoom. One of them is the fact that it's not the same as face-to-face, because even though you see the person, there's a delay on the camera, there's a delay on the sound. You don't see their body language, you just see their head, except especially if you're in a gallery view, you just see a bunch of heads. So your brain is trying to process it like it's a real face-to-face conversation, but it's not. So that's the first problem with Zoom fatigue. And the second issue is that many of us have pointed out that our days just flow one to the next because we don't have the split between that work-life balance or that school-life balance, that we get in a bus or we get in a car, and we get to school, and now we're in a different environment and we're in school work mode, and then we get home and now we're in home mode, but now there's a lack of balance also going on. So some of the advice is just about getting yourself a schedule and getting yourself in school mode even if you're not at school. So the first most obvious piece of advice is in the morning, get out of bed. If you stay in bed all day, Zooming, and then I guess binging Netflix, and then Zooming for more, and then binging some more, you will wind up feeling really depressed and empty and like you accomplished nothing the entire day. So you want to get up, get out of bed. You could put your computer on a desk. You could put a computer on the dining room table. You can go outside with your computer and Zoom from there. Just don't stay in your bed. The second piece of advice, kind of connected to the first, is get dressed in the morning as if you're going to school. You don't have to totally be in school uniform, but if you Zoom in your pajamas all day long, even if the teachers don't know it, because you put on a hoodie and you're hiding it and you're not standing up, you're going to know it. Your body's going to know it, and you're going to feel like you're in your PJs all day. But if you get dressed, it gives you that schedule. The key is to do things to separate your home life from your school work life. So those two pieces of advice are just good pieces of advice. As far as dealing with the fatigue of, that delay of seeing people and hearing people, so really you have to schedule time to be off of Zoom. When you're done, turn off your screen, go outside, take a walk in the morning. Even if you're in class, if you can possibly sit by a window, looking out at the window, so the sunlight, I have the window right in front of me right now, the sunlight's on me, sunlight gives off a lot of positive hormones that makes you feel happy. So just looking out at the sun every 20 seconds or so, they talk about, first of all, when you're sitting, to have like the 6-foot rule. If you can high five your computer's far enough away. If you're doing this, besides the fact that you look ridiculous, you're way too close to your computer screen. So you want to have a distance from your screen. You want to look up, hopefully at the sky from time to time. I'm going out and I'm exercising. I try to take a walk at least once, if not twice a day. And all of that is really important because normally in life, that comes naturally. You leave your house, you're going outside. When you have a free, you're going outside to hang. or at least you're going out in the hallway, and then you're going out into the beautiful cafeteria, and you might be sitting in the outside area. So all of these things that we do naturally in our regular everyday lives, we have to kind of consciously do when we are socially distancing and Zooming from home.
Since you are the master of Zoom, what are some tools you picked up that you found enhanced the Zoom learning?
Okay, so that's a great question. So one of the tools to realize is that when you're on Zoom, you can be anywhere. Obviously, a lot of us have laptops that are portable, and clearly our cell phones are portable. So just the idea that you can walk around when you're Zooming. There are also tricks you can do. There are lots of little tiny tricks. First of all, if you want to look really good on Zoom, if you care about that, there's a little thing in video settings called Touch Up My Appearance. And when you turn it on, it's kind of like a filter in Instagram, and it's supposed to make you look better. I don't know if it really works, but I have it turned on. So that's a little tool to know. Um, if you want to be heard better, if you can buy one, I know these may look really nerdy, or maybe they just look really geeky and cool because it looks like I'm a gamer. But these little mics and headphones and all that helps a lot. I think a lot of people have figured out how to connect their AirPods to Zoom for the same reason. So it'll do like some it'll look good. There are some other things. If you don't want to see yourself, one of the problems with Zoom is I know I told you to touch up your appearance on Zoom, but you're constantly looking at yourself instead of looking at the teacher. And especially for teenagers, that can make you really self-conscious. If you right click on your image, there is a little button with Mrs. Wojtelski told me about called Hide Self View. And now I can't see myself. And I'm zooming and I'm just looking at you. And that could make a big difference because I'm no longer focusing on my appearance. I'm just focusing on my conversation. When you're having a natural conversation, hopefully you're not looking at yourself. You're looking at the other. So that's a little trick, that hide self-view trick, which might be a good thing to do. And then you could always turn it back on by show self-view. One final trick is there's something called turn on original sound. If you ever want to sing on Zoom, you can go into the audio settings and set up what's called original sound, which is much better for music and singing, whereas Zoom normal is better for your voice.
And now the million-dollar question. Do you think we'll be still Zooming in the fall?
Oh my God. I hope not. Yeah, I might be the techie, but I love seeing you guys, really. Because Zoom is great, but it's still kind of a little bit artificial. It's not the same thing.
Right. Thank you so much, Rabbi Pittinsky.
Okay.
Now let's get the students' perspective on this. Hi, Akira. In your words, what is the most positive thing about Zoom?
Zoom, I think right now I'm like doing all these things I feel like I would have never done if we were still in school, because obviously like the day ends earlier, and I think the environment is much more chill, and it's like nice like seeing the teachers' kids and everything. Like, I'm learning sign language now, so I've been doing a lot of things and reaching out to people I feel like I wouldn't have.
Do you prefer Zoom over in-class learning?
No, for sure not. I miss school so much more. Like when we got back to school, I'm not going to take it for granted. I obviously miss my friends and I miss my teachers, and like I appreciate my teachers so much more. Like I miss them also so much, and it's just like so weird. Like it really, like you appreciate so many things that you wouldn't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Akira.
Thank you.
For Frisch News, I'm Kayla Mantell. Now back to the studio.
Thank you, Kayla. Social distancing is the norm right now, but Yeshivat Frisch students are still finding a way to reach out to those in need. With more on their amazing efforts, here's Carly Scheinfeld.
During this time of uncertainty and isolation, our community of kindness is coming together and helping those in need. Senior Shira Sedek began collecting food when she heard that people nearby were struggling with money and needed help putting dinner on the table. She now acts as a drop-off center, collecting food and bringing it to Gemachs in Fairlawn and Bergenfield for distribution to needy families. Shira, why did you decide to take on this chesed?
It's very important because thank God we're very fortunate, and I feel like it's our job, since we're able to actually like donate and we have the money and we have the food for ourselves. Like we should be able to, I guess, like help people. I feel like it's our job as like Jews to help like our fellow Jews, like in the times of struggle. We'd hope someone would do it for us, so we should just do the same.
Seeing that the families could use more than just food, Shira is now thinking about expanding the drive to include toiletries and games or toys for kids. Meanwhile, junior Jojo Blank had the idea that she wanted to tutor a few kids for free. She reached out to her friends Benny Attar and Maya Benelli, and from there, things grew exponentially. Together, the group of 3 created a platform that connects high school students with kids in kindergarten through 8th grade whose parents are first responders or who come from low-income families. They now have about 100 tutors and 50 student learners from all across America. You can still get involved in these chesed opportunities and look out for much more happening in your community. For more information on the tutoring, visit jmbtutoring.com. And for more information on the food drive, email shir.tzedek@frisch.org. For Frisch News, I'm Carly Scheinfeld.
Thank you, Carly. Well, it seems Zoom is here to stay for now. And more, we're finding that learning on Zoom can be fun. Or is it? We sent our own Daniela Moadab to find out what's keeping the learning memorable.
How do you find learning on Zoom? Fun, awkward, meaningful, or challenging? However you find it to be, you can't deny that it is definitely a time to remember. We asked students and faculty at Yeshivat Frisch to share their most memorable Zoom moments. Here's what they said.
My funniest memorable Zoom moments was when my computer restarted in the middle of class. I'm sure my students weren't too disappointed, and it was pretty funny. My most memorable, meaningful Zoom moment is being able to connect with my students in another way, add a dimension to our relationship, and show them that I care about them even from afar.
This morning in our virtual internship, we had the opportunity to listen to Joshua Friedman, a modern Orthodox Jewish guy who recruits players for the NBA. And it was very cool to hear from him because he was talking to us about all his really interesting, unique experiences and going on trips with players and certain games and conferences, but how he keeps his Jewish identity and remains such a strong practicing Jew, even though he's away over Shabbos and whatever. He always keeps Shabbos, he always keeps kosher. His job is really important to him and he does really well with that. But he says like his Jewish values come first. And it was just very cool to hear how he's able to make both things work. It just like gives you hope to know that like if you have a dream and there's something you want to do, you should definitely go for it. And you shouldn't feel like you ever have to sacrifice your Jewish identity for that.
For Frisch News, I'm Danielle Modab. Back to the studio.
Thank you, Daniela. Well, that's about it for us today in this special edition of Frisch News. Until next time, I'm Alex Massell. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you for watching.